Hello everybody and welcome back to Gardens and Crystals with me, Wesley Peterson, and today we are out in the area of my garden called the Inner Garden because I have a video for you all about skirt lifting your trees. Yes, there is a concept called skirt lifting, and that is when you prune up the lower branches of your tree so that you can allow more light or space into the area of your garden around the tree, especially if you want to plant things around close to the tree, or if the tree is creating shadow in areas and other borders of your garden where you want more sunlight. And that is what this lovely tree is doing here. This is one of my beautiful Downy Birches, and it is growing out absolutely fabulous in the position it's in. I absolutely love seeing it here. Its lovely white trunk brightens up the area, especially now in the autumn and the winter time. And well, I don't want to take away the plant, but its positioning is quite wrong compared to the sun, because on my right side here is the south. And my borders where I want to have a little bit more light are behind the tree, so they get the shade. So I don't want to take that tree down because we already took one of the Downy Birch that were in this area of the garden down. And if you look just here on my left hand side, I planted a pine tree and it is growing out absolutely fabulous for me, and taken the place of the Downy Birch that was removed, and it's given us an extra couple of meters of space in that area of the garden. And also it was getting quite big, and I wanted a tree that was evergreen to fill up that area because it's kind of a very central area in the garden, and the tree can get very tall, so the sun will always be able to penetrate through and down under that tree there. So even though this tree is more on the south side compared to the rest of this area of the garden, it's staying where it is, but you can see the lower branches have got very thick and very wide. So all I'm going to do is take off the lower layer of the tree, just the lower layer, and that will be sufficient to give a lot more light, and it will reduce the spread of the tree. And if the tree should start spreading out a little bit too much again, then in a year or a couple of years, I could take one more layer. And the principle is that you should never do this until the autumn time, late summer, autumn, when the tree has stopped pumping up a lot of its energy to the branches where all the leaves are, and it is photosynthesizing a lot from the sun to give it energy to be able to produce all the nutrients it needs to be able to gather the nutrients from the soil with its roots. Now all that energy has been drawn back down into the roots and the tree is dormant. So it's not going to affect the tree so that it produces a lot of sap that will flow out of the tree and could kill the tree. So basically the tree could bleed to death if you did this in late spring and the summer when it's pumping up a lot of energy. So now it's absolutely perfect. It is October and it is still not frost and cold. You should also do this before any sign of frost so that the areas that you cut don't get damaged and cause a lot of infection in the tree. And whenever you prune back big branches on the tree, it is a shock for the tree, and it also is an area where a lot of fungus or bacterial diseases could get into the tree and harm the tree. But I've done this on a lot of my trees around here and they've all done very, very well, and they've managed to seal over the areas where I prune back very easily. So just before I start, I just want to show you the technique that I'm going to be used to prune back these larger branches so that they don't snap off and pull off a huge part of the trunk on the tree, making a much bigger saw. So right, I have this twig and it's just to show you the branching system. So the branch down the bottom here, listen to that woodpecker. I absolutely love the sound of the birds around here. So this has this area at the bottom where it attaches to the tree trunk, we should say. And you'll see that there's a thicker layer of bark around the bottom, which builds up to help hold the branch in place. It's an extra strong area. So when you prune the branch, you never want to prune inside of that area. It's very important because that will carry on growing out and seal up the wound afterwards. So you will want to prune just outside that area and down and create as little open wound area as possible. So you wouldn't want to go flush down the tree trunk right down to here, make a big area. You'd want to follow the area where this mounding area grows out that you know is going to seal off the area when you're finished. When you have a thick, big branch on the tree, if you should cut it straight down in this area, you will cause all the weight of that branch to rip off that whole branch at the bottom, and it will rip down the side of the trunk of the tree and into this protective layer, and you really don't want that to happen. So what you should use is a 3-step method, and that is you get your saw and you make an incision and saw at the bottom of the branch first. And you can do this till you get to 1/3 of the way to halfway, depending, as long as you know that the branch is not going to snap and suddenly fall. Once you've done that, then you will go on top of the branch above that incision there, on the top side, and prune back there. And when you do that, what you will do, I can't do this with one hand on this branch, it's very heavy, that part of the branch will start hanging because of the weight, and it will cause a pressure point in where you made your incision there at the bottom, rather than down here against the tree trunk, so that that will snap off there. Then you'll be left with this segment left on the tree. And I say a 3-point method because this part of the trunk should not be left on the tree either afterwards. That is an area where you could cause infections in the tree, because this doesn't have the protective layer, this thicker layer around the bottom by the trunk that will seal off very quickly and easily, compared to this area that will stay open much longer and could get bacterial or fungal infections. So you will go back down here and finish off with your 3rd incision at the top and prune back the rest of the branch, and that way you won't damage the whole of your tree trunk. So this is the method I'm going to be using, and I better just get on with it. So as you can see, all these thicker branches are coming down, but not without a lot of struggle. This took me a lot longer than it looks like in this snippet here. I got really tired. It was really hard doing this with a hand saw and not a chainsaw or anything like that, but you get a better effect this way without leaving any markings. So that was me done, and you can see down here all of the branches that I got off, and this was a lot, and they're quite thick, some of them, and I will just break all this down and place it in the borders in here in the inner garden and around the bottom of the tree to slowly break down into soil. So over the years I have, as you can see on this trunk here, gone in and lifted up the canopy little by little, and now it's above the birdhouse, right up there. This has given me an extra 1.5 meters of the trunk and taken in the canopy by 3 meters at least. So it's fantastic, and here you can see how the tree heals itself around where the branches were with time. This trunk is looking fantastic, and the tree has been growing like crazy, so it's very happy. It's hard to see because of the light, but I just want to show you how it turned out. And even here from West Side Garden, you can see how much this tree has been lifted. So I am really pleased with the result of all this today. Look at that. Perfect. And now if we pan around here, you can see this aspen tree I have here. I need to take the lower branches of that and lift this tree as well. I lifted it up last year around 2 meters, and now I need to do more because these branches are casting a lot of shade into the garden during the day from the south there. So a job for another day. So I really hope you've enjoyed seeing how you can lift the canopy of a tree that might be causing shade in your garden so that you can keep the tree and enjoy its beautiful trunk and canopy much higher up rather than soaring down the whole tree. This was a beautiful and fantastic outcome, and I'm very happy about this. So all I have to say now is thank you very much once again for watching Gardens and Crystals with me, Wesley Peterson. Please remember to like, subscribe and hit the bell so you know when my next video will be coming up, and I will see you again very, very soon. Goodbye.